Welcome to the podcast Super Friends. 5 podcast producers from across North America get together to discuss podcasting.
Another edition of the podcast Super Friends. I'm Matt Kundle, and today we're going to be talking about disasters. And hopefully we don't encounter one at all. We may have already dodged a few as it is now. We'll say hi to the Super Friends, and we'll go clockwise, and we'll start in Fort Worth.
Hello, I'm Johnny Podcast. Excited to be here.
You know what I love is the easy breezy, everything's going exactly as to plan, and then we launch the podcast Super Friends. That's what I love. Just the ease. No problems, no snafus, no real life examples of what we're talking about today. Hey, I'm Catherine O'Brien in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Hey, I'm John Gay from Jag Podcast Productions in Detroit, Michigan, where I'm the dog sitting around me while everything is on fire meme.
Today we're going to talk about something that we've never had to really sort of consider until yesterday. And I'm so glad that Jag, I mean, even though it was only a minute and a half, you did a podcast episode about what happens when things go wrong. And this is about planning for the unplanned. And as it turns out, yesterday, there was a lot of people online who were struggling and trying to figure out what to do. And as you mentioned on your show, there's been a couple things in the last little while that podcasters have not been prepared for. So who can answer what happened yesterday with the AWS outage?
No one really knows.
I can attempt it.
Okay.
Please.
From asking folks in the IT world. So AWS, Amazon Web Services, separate from Amazon Box shows up at your front door, although same parent company, obviously, they had an outage. And a significant portion of the internet, the world, 20, 30%, I've heard even higher, runs this in the background, Amazon Web Services, AWS. So because of that, all these things went down. Snapchat, Signal or Telegram, one of those encrypted apps. We'll get to this in a minute. Riverside had issues.
Descript
had issues. Simplecast, my podcasting host, had a hiccup or two. So now you're in a situation where a lot of your tools are offline. And yes, all our eggs shouldn't be in one internet basket, and that's for a different podcast. But this cascading effect really caused an issue starting at 6 a.m. ish Eastern yesterday.
So we've already gone around the horn once to talk about how give our names and where we're from. But Johnny, how did this affect you yesterday?
It really didn't affect me until later in the afternoon, after I had seen everyone say stuff online like, oh, the shortages or the outage has been fixed, everything's good to go. And I was like, oh, great, awesome. What's funny is, we talk about having backups for recordings, backups for this, backups for that. I didn't realize how much I really relied on Riverside and Descript to get so much of this stuff done. So the specifics for what happened to me yesterday was an episode needs to go out Tuesday, which means it needs to be finalized, exported, uploaded, show notes, everything. All of that needs to be scheduled to go live by Monday at the latest. Our host recorded the introduction to the episode. Hey, this is host so-and-so. Welcome to the episode. Today I'm talking with Who'sy Whatsy, and we talked about X, Y, and Z. Critical portion of the episode. It has to go in every episode, because if we don't put it in there, then it's different from everything else. This is how our show flows. That was recorded Monday morning. I go into Riverside and it's fully uploaded, but it's still processing. And then now I can't even load Riverside, and now I can't get to it. And I couldn't download it until 8 p.m. that night. So everything that the entire episode is on halt until that's done. So that was one. The other was a client wanted some additional edits done beyond what we had done so far on their audio podcast. So the easiest way to do it is upload into Descript the things that they wanted cut, where the guest was an excessive very excessive on that front, and can't upload a new project into Script. It's just not working. It's not working. So you're stuck in limbo for like 2 hours. I couldn't do anything. And if I felt really stuck, and, we always harp on, we need to have these backups for things, but I mean, are we supposed to have, what is the backup to Riverside, Jag? I'm guessing it's but it was Descript and Squadcast. That was down too. So is it Zoom? Zoom was down too.
I was just going to say, we need to check in with David and see what Zoom.
If only Dave were here today, he'd be like, I was telling you Zoom for the last 6 years.
So there is an actual backup to this for that specifically. So what I would recommend to podcasters, if this, all of the stuff that we're doing, we can bump it by a day. It'll be okay. I had 2 recordings cancel for different reasons other than the outage, so it actually worked out really well that they didn't record yesterday. But had they wanted to record and Riverside was a problem, here's what we would have done. We would have opened up Google Meets. That way we're face to face. If I'm the host and Matt's the guest, I would open up Google Meets, invite Matt. Matt would join. Matt would open up QuickTime Player on his end. I would open up QuickTime Player on my end. We would both hit record. We would record locally that way, our audio and video onto QuickTime Player, upload both of those into a shared drive folder. That way we can piece together a podcast after the fact if we can't push it. And then you kind of have to go full caveman on the editing. If you're really used to relying on the script for a lot of the editing, we're going back to the basics here. You're doing a lot of cut and drag editing, and this is going to take a long time to get done. So there are backups to all of this stuff, but you don't realize how much we rely on this stuff. Like imagine for all of us, if ChatGPT had gone down for show notes or time codes or any of this stuff that we're using it for, we'd go, oh, it would just be horrendous. So that's what happened to me yesterday.
Catherine, what happened to you?
Well, the horror you just described, I actually experienced. I had to write show notes from my own mind typing into a Word document. Can you believe it? The horror, the absolute horror of this situation. Yeah. So yesterday was, I was thinking, oh, I am completely unscathed. I have gotten through this big, oh yes, all these other things. I'm not ordering anything from Amazon. I don't have to worry about this big crash. And it wasn't this interesting that how many things are running on AWS. Then I approached Descript to work on an episode that I needed to have done today. And lo and behold, and again, this is not a dig on any of our very favorite tools like Descript or Riverside or anybody like that, because everybody was having the same. But I realized how much time I had just put on being able to do what I wanted to do at the time that I wanted to do it. And nothing was happening. It was just not available. And rather than go the caveman route, I did do some other things, but that did include, I just realized how dependent I have become on so many of these software services. There's so many things that are holding it up. But one of the sort of the interesting things I've been thinking about in terms of maybe how we thought about podcasting before, sort of the podcasting 1.0 world versus the podcasting 2.0 world, is that when everybody is impacted, that gives you a lot more grace. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, I had the same kind of problems. My work was this way. So pushing things off by a day is not a big deal, or a day or two, because people are having those same kinds of impacts. Whereas I think in the earlier days, we had that push, let's say, that if you miss your day, everything's going to go to heck in a handbasket, and your listeners aren't going to forgive you, and the audience is going to go. Those things have really not proven to be true. So especially when everybody else is having the same sort of issues, there's a lot more grace there than there might have been, or in some of those earlier times.
Jag?
I had a couple issues. So as you may see right now, if you're watching on video, I have been struggling with my lighting here in my studio to do videos. So you mentioned the 1.5-minute micropod I recorded yesterday about this topic. I was planning on recording with my iPhone on my couch in my living room. And I had a tripod set up and it was great. And I was going to use the Riverside app. I'm like, oh, Riverside app's not loading. That's funny. So I actually just recorded the episode on my iPhone as a movie file, and then I edited it in Adobe Premiere. Actually, at that point, the script was working for me also, but and then I got it out. I had one client who I hopped on, did a sound check with at the beginning of her podcast. Now, I don't know if this was a Squadcast issue or not. I want to be clear. She had a guest who was not super tech savvy and had and had an older laptop, and the audio wasn't great on the sound check, but I said to myself, well, that's okay. Like we'll
fix it in post.
Studio sound and all that. And unfortunately, I don't know if it was an issue with the recording, with the studio sound, or just it was a bad laptop, but the audio was unsalvageable. The podcast can't be used.
Can you tell me what the audio sounded like?
It was just
do your best impression.
No, it was there was a lot of dropouts of like parts of syllables in the audio,
Yeah.
and I believe the guest didn't have headphones, so she had to use echo cancellation, and I think there was audio coming back, and it was causing the waveform to break up. Is my best guess.
And those older computers and a weak Wi-Fi connection, there's if you have a bunch of tabs open, there's a gazillion factors, and all of them combined can result in a really poor sounding recording, which sucks. And either as a host or as a producer, you never want that to happen. But it's like Catherine said, during one of these kind of global outages, there's a lot of grace that can be handed.
Right. And I'll
you.
actually mention a friend of mine. So I've mentioned his podcast before, and I don't want to bash on Riverside because Kendall was great. We love Riverside. My friend Jeff Kirkchin, who does a baseball podcast with his dad, Tim Kirkchin, sorry, who is an ESPN baseball analyst. Yesterday was Game 7 of the American League Championship Series between the Blue Jays and the Mariners. They had recorded 70% of the podcast prior to the game, and Jeff texted me during the game. He's like, I can't get the recording. Riverside won't load for me. And I said, well, if you recorded it and it all uploaded, it's there. You can't get it, but it's there. And then he was able to after the game go in and get the recording and then and finish the episode talking about who won the game last night. But imagine this: you're doing a baseball podcast. It's the biggest game of the year outside the World Series, and you're down. That's unfortunate.
We
Matt,
talk a lot.
Do you know if StreamYard was down yesterday?
I did not check it yesterday, although I managed to schedule this yesterday, so I don't think it was too much of a problem.
Because Jag, I wonder if like they could have, if like hindsight, had you just suggested, let's just live stream the rest of the episode on StreamYard and do it there. I don't know if that
maybe
doesn't work.
I offered my
process.
Squadcast to him. I said maybe Zoom, but luckily he was able to get into Riverside by the time the baseball game ended last night. And they were able to talk what happened in the game. So
okay, cool.
We talk about some of the major problems that we have doing the podcast and not being able to, to do our work. But Ticketmaster also had a little outage yesterday, and I don't know how they were going to scan the tickets for that game last night. So that was an issue at 3:00 yesterday afternoon.
Wow.
Was in the Great White North, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So somebody asked me why it wasn't a news story yet, but it's kind of like, well, isn't that just the story? I don't know.
Yeah.
If there's any more in that. I had I've got two people who work here who were kind of left with nothing to do, saying we can't get on, and we had clients asking for stuff. And I should know better, but in my top right drawers, I should have additional projects to give them to do. Maybe it's like work on a website, work on some other things. If they just can't, get into Descript or into Riverside to do work, you should have some rainy day activities for your staff lined up and ready to go. I did not, sadly.
Well, even extracting that out further or digging deeper on that specifically is, how this can apply to the podcaster listening. This is why we always promote record stuff ahead of time. We don't, unless you're doing something that's really timely, like a news podcast, or like in Jag's case, it was, the MLB podcast, where it kind of matters that they record it right after the game because that's the point.
It went out this morning, yeah.
But for the majority of podcasts, you should be 1 or 2 episodes ahead of your release calendar. You should have 1 or 2 things in the bank. And then taking that a step further, whoever's your producer, whoever's your editor, whoever's on the back end actually putting these episodes together, don't wait until the day before the episode's going live to get into Riverside, download the files, get everything worked on because it's going out tomorrow. Like, these things need to be worked on ahead of time. That way, it doesn't matter if there's an AWS shortage for 24 hours. My episode that's going out tomorrow, it's been done for 3 days. So I have everything ready to go. And I will say, Megaphone was not down. Libsyn was not down. YouTube was not down. And then big one that was down, Canva, for a lot of people. That's huge. That's thumbnails. That's graphics. That's marketing material. Photoshop was not down. Photoshop was loaded on my computer. I'm able to get thumbnails done. We're able to get marketing material together and ready to go. So go through every part of your podcasting process and say, this goes away tomorrow. What's my next step? What do I do to get X done? And then on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And there should be at least one other place that you can go to get any part of a podcast episode or piece of content produced.
To further your point, Johnny, one of the questions that I get commonly asked by new clients, and I'm sure the three of you do also, is how often should I do my podcast? And I always say it's whatever you have the bandwidth to do. It's if you only have the bandwidth to do one podcast a month, then commit to that one podcast a month and be consistent. But to your point, Johnny, we would probably extend that out a little bit and say, do as much as you have the bandwidth for, but also be able to work an episode or two ahead for this exact reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I think batch recording is one of the best things that people can do because, the people that we work with, they all have full-time jobs outside of podcasting. The podcasting is either a direct benefit to whatever their job is, or it's a passion project, X, Y, or Z reason that they're doing it. Batch recording, you're going to have weeks that are really busy. I can't get to the podcast this week. Now it benefits us to be 3 episodes in the can ready to go that we can just pull from and go to. All of the people that I work with, I'd say 95% of the shows that I work on are at least 2 episodes ahead of the release schedule. They're just ready to go. And that it relieves so much pressure from you as the host.
Outside of the outages that we don't see because they're elsewhere, you could have a hard drive crash.
Sure.
And as long as you're 2 episodes ahead. Now from that, the episodes I downloaded, they're on the hard drive and now I don't know what to do. This is why I recommend, Google Drive or a Dropbox or some scenario like that where, to keep your files so that they are living somewhere else aside from on a hard drive, because hard drives have a habit of blowing up.
Yeah. No, it's
don't
really
say
true.
that too loud, Matt.
My hard drive might hear you.
Yeah, I don't want anything. I remember I think it was Leo Laporte, who's a, longtime radio tech guy. And he was saying the standard is if you have to have something saved 3 spots for it to be considered safe. Because I've thought that before, like, okay, what if I lose my hard drive and lose all the intro outro music and the pre-recorded and the artwork and all these kinds of things. That's always my nightmare is like, okay, well, how would I recover those pieces or any of those assets? That's what I sort of dread having to do. So I have my active hard drive, external hard drive. I have a second that is just purely for backup that I occasionally will upload and make sure everything is, recording there, and then using a cloud service as well.
Jag looks like he wants to say something.
I'm trying to not be better at interrupting Catherine and others, which I do too much. But I actually have a large external hard drive, same as you, Catherine, that I store a lot of stuff on. And every once in a while, I'll back up what's on my Google Drive to that physical hard drive when my Google Drive is getting a little too full. And then invariably, I move intro or outro music from a podcast onto that hard drive. So I load my session and this file is missing. All right, plug in the hard drive. Okay, find the file, move it over to the active folder. And bottom line, you've got to have a system. And it's got to have, ideally, 2 backups, to your point, 3 places, Catherine, but at least 1. And having 1 in the cloud and 1 physical hard drive, if not 2, is probably ideal.
So this is a little bit of a spin-off of what Johnny was saying. Do you all remember way back when we were baby podcasters so many years ago, and one of the common things that we'd hear at places like Podcast Movement is to have a finished episode ready to go, and that was just like a standard. So that's as if you have a interview dropout, if you have any of these things, that was like a very common, especially for the hobbyists. Like you'll always have to have one that's completely finished, ready to go. If you have to break the glass and get it, that's what you have in the backup there. And I remember this is going to give you some dates here. Some of you might remember that in 2016, Baton Rouge had a flood. And so all of the podcasting that I had planned, which, was, again, podcasting 1.0 for me, I was so glad to have some of those ready because a lot of people were impacted by, my local customers were impacted by the flooding. And some we just, punted and, nobody's going to be listening anyway. It's a local podcast where the flood is the story. We're not going to be doing that. But I remember so well using up those emergency podcasts for that very circumstance. And and it's interesting how that's kind of dropped off as like a standard podcasting advice, but it's a little different to have, everything batch recording and all these people ready to go in the
because
wings.
I feel like that advice has morphed into your next episode should be ready to go before
Days, like you were just saying. Yeah.
But yeah, your next episode, it shouldn't be recorded the day before we're releasing. It should not that it has to be completely done. It's got the intro music. It's like all I have to do is hit publish, but it should be recorded at the very least well in advance. Because if you just keep one episode up on the shelf, it gets dusty very quickly. It gets very old very quickly. And then you may end up never releasing it. So that emergency one should always just be your next one. And so that one's done. And now we're working on this one and then this one and then this one.
Which I think that's probably better. It's more of a contrast from the olden days of podcasting to the modern.
Yeah, well, live streaming has taken over so much.
Well, that's
now.
yeah.
There are a lot of shows that are heavily reliant on live streaming. So in that case, it's like, well, what do? We're supposed to live stream on this, X, not X Twitter, but like X platform, and it's down because of the outage, and that's a day's revenue that we're not getting because of that. So I would be curious to hear what the really big money making live streaming shows dealt with and how they, what their workaround
or
is.
Particularly last week when YouTube had that outage last week.
Yeah. I had a client email me, in the middle of the night being like, hey, this random episode that I just happened to be looking at doesn't work. Can you look at it? And I just responded with, I was like, all of YouTube is down right now. It's not just this one video. It's everything.
It's this one episode.
Episode 40 out of our 200 episode podcast.
I do want to come back, if you don't mind, to Riverside for a second. I want to give them props on two fronts because I texted Jeff Kirkch and I said, "Do you mind if I tell your story on the podcast?" And I did, and hoped he'd say yes, and he texted me back yes.
Phew!
Just now,
you'll have to edit that out, Matt. Don't worry. And so he texted me back, yes, of course you can use it. They were very responsive via email and was able to get the podcast edited and produced, ready for midnight release. Still love Riverside. So props to them for being responsive while this outage was happening. And then on the other front, and I apologize, I've told the story in the podcast before, but one of my clients, one of the co-hosts was on a family vacation in the Bahamas. The internet connection was beyond awful. She was probably getting like 2 or 5 or 10 megabytes upload. It was bad. And we were recording on Riverside. And she was in and out, but the files synced up and the parts that I had her for were great. But miraculously, and I don't know if this will happen every time, Riverside still was able to transcribe the parts that didn't get the audio and video recording. So I was able to go in with her the next day, and I had the script for her of everything that Riverside didn't get. And so we did a little bit at a time, uploaded a little bit of time, uploaded, and then when it got to the point where we just couldn't upload it anymore, I gave her the last couple paragraphs. She recorded it on her iPhone and put it on like a Google Drive, and I downloaded it and I stitched the whole thing together.
Wow.
And through like 3 backups within Riverside, they really saved my bacon. So,
when was this?
Wow.
This was within the last year. So
I feel like it probably would have taken a year to do that.
Yeah, no kidding.
There was definitely a lot of surgery involved, and there were a couple parts where the conversation happened and she wasn't there, and I had to just throw up a logo on her corner of the screen, and so be it. But Riverside really came through for me in that moment. That's
where you have the magic B-roll come in and just take away the visuals. Yeah, something gone. Wow, that is a yeoman's effort. These are all my nightmares. We should retitle this episode Catherine's Nightmares, because that is also a nightmare of just, stitching together piece after word to word to word. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Catherine, you mentioned floods where we are. There's storms that blow through parts of the U.S. There's hurricanes, and if you have a show and you've especially a live show, and there's bad weather coming in, that makes me really nervous. I get very, very nervous that the power is going to go out. So one of the things I did was I bought an uninterrupted power supply, and it protects the hard drive from surges and flickering and stuff that might go on during a storm. It'll keep you going for a few more minutes. You'll have to consider shutting things down or moving things along, or perhaps dropping out of it. But at least it won't ruin your hard drive. So an uninterrupted power supply is something you might want to consider for a purchase. And I'll tell you, if in 2019 we had a really bad storm here, It was an ice storm, and it bent all the trees. Every windstorm after that meant the power was going to go out. And before I
wow.
lost a hard drive, I made this purchase, and it saved me a lot of money in the end. So something to consider if you're prone to power outages.
Another backup that I have found, I am recording right now on the Rodecaster 2 Duo. And should the Rodecaster 2 Duo ever conk out, I've got a Scarlett that I will just flip over and unplug my mic and headphones and plug it into the Scarlett. And I have found out recently, shout out to my IT guy, Stephen Kurtz, that my USB-C connection on the Duo was wonky, and sometimes it would just cut out and stop in the middle of a recording. So I went into my system settings for those of you on Windows, and I turned off the setting that says turn off power to USB to conserve power, because there were a couple of times where the
Oh,
USB
wow.
died. Thankfully, I was recording on the Rodecaster, but I was also recording on Riverside. So while the other hosts were talking, I just reconfigured and plugged everything back in, and it all thankfully synced up. But there are so many things that can go wrong.
That's not a cable quality issue, right?
No, it's the cable that came with the Rodecaster. I'm told it's a bit of a known issue with the Rodecaster, the Duo, the mini one that I
Interesting.
have.
Mm.
Yeah.
Another thing to think about too, and we're talking about planning ahead, outages happen. You shouldn't live your entire life thinking that disaster is around the corner, but you should take reasonable precautions. So for instance, I just did an episode that was filmed in 4K. So a normal 1080p episode is going to end up exporting at around like 5 to 7 gigabytes. And with a strong internet connection, that gets uploaded to YouTube in about 5 minutes. A 4K video, that one ended up being 138 gigabytes.
Ooh.
Wow.
A beautiful looking video. It was about 90 minutes of upload time. And
That's
hours.
a video.
That's with like fiber. That's like fiber internet. That's the fastest you can get. We pay for it, like, to get it up there. Think about those things. So if your upload times take longer than expected, don't wait till the last second to get those things uploaded, and then try to find workarounds for the instances that you don't have the strongest of internets. Last year for me, I was in Idaho mule deer hunting, and we had to get an episode out, and I was staying at my uncle's place, and he's like, yeah, we've got internet, you'll be great. And I was like, are you sure? Because I got to upload stuff to YouTube. Like, I will be severely punished if these don't get uploaded. And I dragged the video into YouTube to upload it, and it says 4 hours to upload, and this is like a 1 or 2 gigabyte video. The key is there are hackarounds around that, and I've mentioned this on the show before. A great tool is called Handbrake, one word. Handbrake is a downloadable program that can compress video files without sacrificing the quality too much. So if you're interested in learning more about that, it would be way too much for me to explain now. Just DM me on Twitter, and I'm happy to give you the settings that I use for that. But you can shrink a like 15 to 20 gigabyte video to 1 gigabyte. And still keep all of that quality, and it's been a lifesaver for me many times.
The upload thing is interesting, Johnny, because I'm on cable internet and my upload speed does not match my download speed like yours does on fiber. So for a 1080 video, to your point, 6-7 gigabytes, it can sometimes take, depending on how busy the internet is, what time of day, it could take 45-60 minutes for me to upload just a 1080 video. So there's a lot of planning that goes into that. That's often while I'm walking the dog or eating dinner that upload's happening.
Yeah, because and then your uploading gets slowed down if you're now working on another episode while that's uploading in the background. It's like, oh, well, I got to download 3 or 4 videos from Riverside to work on the next thing that I got to do. But YouTube's uploading in the background. Now it went from 45 minutes to 90 minutes. It's just a whole time
I was
management
2 minutes from finishing a video edit when we started today, and I was like, this is gonna have to wait, because if I try to export this while I'm on the stream,
I was the same way.
it's not gonna
Disaster.
work.
Yeah, I had a Logic project pulled up for an audio export right before we jumped on here, and I just went, I'm not going to export this in the background. I'm just going to minimize this. This can wait, and it can run later.
Does anybody own a generator?
No. I got out of my prepping phase around like 2021, 2022. Once there was like significant fear about the world ending in civil unrest. I had, chest freezer, lots of extra food lying around, but I didn't end up pulling the trigger on the
You don't have the
generator.
30-gallon drum of MREs, Johnny?
I won't disclose what I may have or not have.
That's right. That's the right answer.
Is Starlink a possibility for
get
a
it.
backup?
Yeah. Oh, for a backup? Well, sorry. I have experience with Starlink unless anybody else wants to jump in. I know I just finished talking. Okay. So I have Starlink at my dad's farm in another undisclosed location. We had a really hard time getting an internet provider to come out to his place, which is not like, it's rural, but not like in the sticks by any means. There's a town and there's civilization within miles of where he is. But for whatever reason, the internet providers, every major internet provider would not come out there because they wouldn't go there. And my dad was just like, I love coming here, but if you guys want to come out and hunt or farm with us and do stuff, like, you need to be able to work. We need to be able to do stuff. He's like, I want to watch Blue Bloods on Netflix and I can't do that right now. So we got Starlink. It is the easiest thing in the world. It literally shipped right to the door. Plug it in, point it at the sky. You have internet. You take 5 minutes to set up your account. It's $160 for a month of unlimited data, but that is not recurring. You can pause your service. So we go up there. He knows how to plug it in, set it up, point it at the sky. He texts me. I turn on the subscription. I get charged $160, and then for the next 30 days, they have internet. And when he's done, he just unplugs it and puts it back in the house. But you can mount it on your roof, blah, blah, blah. It is a fantastic backup. I don't think they ran into any outages yesterday.
I know some van lifers who've used Starlink in that same way and just thought it was just amazing.
It is really like, we talk about, in the future we're gonna have this and this and this and flying cars and whatnot. Starlink is very much we're living in the future. Like, you have internet literally anywhere.
How does the upload and download compare to, say, cable or fiber?
I wouldn't say I'm able to work fully up there. I could move up there and still do my full job. If I wanted to. Yeah, it's that good. So I don't think it's fiber, but it's good. It's close enough. It's good enough.
So when I think satellite, the two things that, in my mind, that might get in the way of the signal is trees and leaves that might affect the signal. And then the other one would be thunderstorms that roll in. And the third one, which is rare, are sunspots. Are those things? Have you ever encountered those?
So for the trees and the leaves, the physical obstructions that are permanent, that aren't weather, when you set it up, the app will tell you like, hey, we can sense obstructions. You need to have it pointed at an unobstructed space in the sky. So if you're mounting it to your roof and you have trees overhead, you're obviously not gonna be able to put it there. So you're putting it in an open space. Ours has been rained on, it's been snowed on. It has performed exceptionally well. I don't believe there have been any downs. And it's in an area that is not, that experiences all 4 seasons. I haven't even heard of sunspots though. I don't know what those are. Is that like a solar flare?
Yeah. So there's a plot line on the ABC show 911, and they're stuck on the space station right now because of that. So it's funny we're talking about it.
I just had a note come pouring in from Triton. They say all their systems are now back online. So did somebody say that something went out again this morning?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, everything was back online as of like 6 or 7 o'clock Central yesterday. Which is why I don't give too much credence to this stuff happening. Like there are so many people working on it. Like all of us know that feeling in the pit of our stomach where we go, something is wrong and it is on me to fix it right now, whether it's an episode edit or something wrong was uploaded or something happened with a client. That is what the majority of the world was experiencing yesterday. Asana, Riverside, Fortnite, Roblox, Zoom, all of these people working 24/7. So, I was confident it wasn't going to last more than a few hours, if up to 24 at the most. It would be genuinely shocking if things were still out today. Then I would think, okay, something is seriously wrong. And then that moves beyond, oh no, I can't get my podcast out tomorrow, then you're like, all right, maybe I should have bought that generator.
Yeah, who attacked us?
Were there any scenarios where, like, I know my staff was saying, "Oh, Asana's not working. What do I do?" And I said, "Well, did you try the web version? Because the web version was working."
Not for me.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I think everybody had different experiences with different apps.
Yeah.
I had Descript working for a lot of stuff, Catherine, when you guys said Squadcast Descript was down, so it was very hit and miss.
Yeah. And I wonder too if it wasn't like the things I was trying to do, because I went to the error screen and I was trying to download things, and that was not where it was so promising. It was like, I'm going to have your download ready in 85 minutes. Okay, now it's 63 minutes. Okay, now 20 minutes, just give me 20 minutes. I've got it downloaded. Don't you worry. It's going to be so great. The download's coming. I promise you. 7 minutes. Are you hanging in there? We've experienced an error. This download has failed. And I was like, okay, thank you.
Well, that's a great point, Catherine. Matt, I think Matt's the only one here that has the aura to really say that he has staff. I don't think any of us here say that we have staff, but Matt, for your staff, do you provide them like external hard drives? Because when we're not downloading Riverside stuff, like I just downloaded files from a on-site recording that was done without me, but it was 375 gigabyte files. And I was like, I can't
Jeez.
ask one of my editors to download this, work on it, and then re-upload it. That would just take forever because I don't know the state of their internet XYZ. Is that something that you do for them?
Everyone has access to Dropbox.
Okay.
So we all share that in a particular way. When I'm interviewing, I ask for like, how fast is your internet? And I'll also ask them a little bit about their computer. I know it's a little bit, nosy to do that, but after you hire somebody and their computer doesn't work, that's not a good hire.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, there are some questions like that asking about, their capabilities and the ability to do it. And, sometimes I will disappear and go to a place where there's little to no internet, and I will give them the job to do the uploads. And as long as it's uploaded, I can get to my destination where there is not much internet, and I can just type stuff in.
Yeah.
I look at going to if you go to the cabin or you go to the cottage or you go fishing or whatever it is, that's a writing exercise. We're going to be writing that weekend. We're not going to be spending a lot of time, on cloud-based stuff doing work. We're definitely not handling much in the way of video. And anytime I'm going to be doing editing and I'm away from strong internet, that's going to come locally onto my computer.
Mhm.
I'm going to do all the editing there. And then when I get back to the city, I will return the audio and overwrite what was there before.
I've done that on planes.
Yeah, it's the plane strategy, right?
What's that?
It's the plane strategy.
Yeah, download the audio file and do your edits without the internet on the plane, or sketchy internet on the plane, and then you upload it when you get to your destination.
Wait, what are you guys doing that is editing without actually downloading the files to your computer? Am I missing something?
If you're
We're
doing
saving the file
Riverside or-
locally on the hard drive.
Oh, if you're editing within Riverside or Descript, I
that you
understand.
need the
I
internet
understand.
for, yeah. Okay.
I understand.
Yeah, I still edit the old-fashioned way.
I edit the old-fashioned way. Every podcast that I work on, every file is being downloaded to my computer, and then it's either being secondarily uploaded to Riverside Drive for somebody else to work on. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be on my computer.
The panic from earlier in the show, I can't remember where it came from, but when we can't take out those crutch words because the system is down,
Yeah.
and we either have to edit that manually. And by the way, I've had 2 podcasts, 1 hour long. I forgot to check how many times somebody said in one of them, but I did manage to get on a 1 hour podcast a client with 869 likes between the two of them over
Wow.
65 minutes. So we should have a
Start charging
competition.
by the like.
Holy smokes.
We should have a competition to see.
Millennials are becoming the podcasters. This is
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's sometimes where you can show somebody a screenshot if it was a problematic guest, or if it was a weaker guest, or and there's obviously a tactful way to do this, but if your host is asking for feedback and say, well, here it is in black and white, you said 400 times in 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Delightful pushback there, but we take those out so that that doesn't become a
Yeah.
problem
What are
for
they?
them.
What are they
That,
paying you
That's
for?
fair.
what,
Okay. Yeah.
But they should always
loving
be
counterpoint.
wanting
Yeah,
to improve, though.
I
Because
agree.
at the very least, what you can say to them is, "This is how you sound to the other person that you're talking to during that
That's true.
recording." Um, when it comes to that style of editing, I think a lot of that is a case by case scenario. So in a lot of video podcasts, I will shoot to remove most, if not all, of those crutch words. However, when we're recording in person and we're doing like a 4K experience where there's real cameras, there's real lighting, it's a very real studio doing that, I generally leave those untouched because I think it gives it I think that rawness and that authenticity combined with like the really high quality cameras kind of the high qualityness of the video, I think, it hides the sort of the blemishes that happen when we're recording in person. Because you look at the big podcasts, you look at the Rogans, a lot of these in person large shows, they don't do any of that crutch word editing.
Right.
So I think that it plays differently depending on the environment of that particular episode.
I have thought about this many times. And if you recall, when we were talking to Kendall, I asked her, I said, what do podcasters need to know about live streaming? Because I think that, especially like your example of Rogan, it feels more like a live stream in a movie set than
Yeah.
it does a podcast. Let's say, air quotes podcast. For I think that exact reason is there is very little editing. It isn't taking out crutch words. It isn't. Most of those people are well spoken anyway, so they don't have a lot of crutch words to begin with. But that feel of you're there with them and you're seeing the whole
Yes.
enchilada, I think
Yeah.
that is more of what those play to. And I actually think I am seeing more people in our world who are saying the live stream, that's going to be more. There's going to be more focus on the live stream. The live stream is going to turn into the podcast.
Yeah.
And so I'm paying attention to some of those things that you're talking about there, Johnny. And I think this is still on topic, is I was watching a video with somebody doing an audio interface with AI. The AI added in us to make them sound more natural. So the AI was using some mild crutch words. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. Wait a second here. I have also noticed I used to be really very hyper vigilant about breathing sounds in podcasting. I would edit those always out. And actually, you guys have helped me to not be so hyper fixated on the breath sound. People breathe. Let me tell you, people breathe. Well, AI sometimes will add a breathy quality to it too, as if the AI is breathing. And I'm like, okay, so they're trying to make that sound more natural. They're trying to add in crutch words. All that is that's crazy town. And B, that should tell us, or us as podcast people, what is the natural sound that people are going to be responding to.
What is normal?
I'm sorry,
what
Kathy.
is normal?
Yeah, you caught me on the phrase, the AI is breathing. That freaked me out.
Sorry. Yeah.
The next thing you know, that ChatGPT is going to be responding back to us misspelling words, so to be more like us. Like, oh, I can't spell either.
Oh,
Here you go.
I was typing so fast I couldn't do it. Yeah.
Autocorrect.
Sorry, I was lying. They're already lying to us. I mean, they'll straight up say, "Oh, oops, I lied about all that information." So that's another human quality they're trying to emulate. I have a question for the group. So leaning back again to the podcasting 1.0 world, how much value do you think that there is in your podcast hosts being able to have some sort of idea that they can execute on for an episode should they run into any disaster? For example, a reintroduce you episode, a top 10 questions that we get in our industry, not past tense. That is the podcast time machine. That's a musical jukebox time machine. Totally different. That was
what is that?
It's the best podcast ever made.
It's
Top 10
it's a
time
really
machine.
good top 10 past tens. Top 10. Okay. Having some sort of the top 10 questions that they get in for their industry, some sort of tent pole type of episode that they would be able to do. I think there is a lot of value in our hosts having that sort of idea of, if they needed to, that they could execute that kind of episode. Just to be able to have something to go. I think that a lot of the podcast audiences, if they connect with a host, they want to hear more from that host. It's always good to be able to be ready to do some kind of solo episode, industry episode, that they can deliver that if the need came up.
So in radio, we used to have the topic, we would reset a topic, or if we came back from commercial, we would find ways to reintroduce, to invite a new audience into something we were currently discussing on air. So to keep everybody up to date. But I think that's probably a smart thing to do, is to, twice a year, maybe do an episode like that.
I have clients that ask me about that, Catherine, and they say, like, is there value in me doing this? And I always am capital yes, 100% of the time, because a lot of these podcasts are interview podcasts, and within those podcasts, the audience is really hearing from the guest the most of the time. And I tell them all the time, like, look, a large reason for why someone is tuning into the podcast is for you, Matt, the host. They like you, your interview style, your personality. Yes, your guests are really valid and they're providing a lot of information, but they love Matt. They're like, Matt's my guy. I consider him like almost an a really close friend, because I've been listening to him for so long. Yeah. So it is really great for you to be able to just solo monologue, deep dive on some topic and be able to just pull something out. And, I think we all have a lot of faith in our hosts, because they are generally very smart people, that they could riff on something it doesn't have to be 60 minutes. It could be 20 minutes about something that they're super passionate about. And I get really excited about that kind of content.
Same.
I usually do that when I can't get a guest.
Yeah, and that's the easiest way to go, is when the client freaks out and say, like, I can't get anybody booked. I go, oh, okay, don't freak out. You're a very smart person. Let's dig in on, X topic for like 30 minutes and just riff on it, and you'll be great. And it'll be a great episode.
Yeah. And script it conversationally.
Yeah.
I think some good standards are, what are the top questions you're being asked right now? What do you think is going to happen in the next year? What does this mean for you, the consumer or the client or the customer? I think all of those are really helpful. And I always think of those as kind of like tent poles. Like what are the basics, getting back to basics. What are the most important things that are happening in your industry or your whatever? Those are, I think people find more interest in those than maybe our hosts would sometimes give it credit for.
And those are great fodder for social clips too, for shorts and reels.
Good point.
Those solo content, because it's just it's literally, I'm not moving. It is going to be me talking for the next 20 minutes, and you're going to get 4 or 5 really good clips out of that. Just so, if anything, even if you don't do it as an episode, just record that stuff and just chop it into shorts.
So that's something that goes in the top. It goes into the top right drawer, and when your guest doesn't show, that's your episode. So just to drop this under the umbrella of disasters, your guest doesn't show, then this is your topic idea for the week.
Let me just write this down for Matt's staff. This is a quick memo. You're going to be making clips the next time things go down.
Well, CapCut, can't you use CapCut? You don't need to use Descript for this, right? Or Riverside?
I haven't used CapCut before.
I haven't either.
I think that's big with the kids. I think that's what they all use for TikToks.
Okay. Well, the
I
kids
was
were in
relying
trouble.
on
They didn't have
Coco
Snapchat.
and Descript.
Yeah, my nieces were not happy yesterday.
They probably felt so isolated. Be like, what do I do?
Oh my God, I have to send a text.
I have to look up and speak to the other person.
Has anybody done? Have they ever uploaded an episode using 5G, 4G, or their cell phone data?
Oh no, thank goodness.
I may have on the mobile app, not the app, but the mobile website of Simplecast. I know I have. When I have a couple clients that I publish them at 6 a.m. And for the short that is tied to their full video podcast, I'll log in when I wake up, and I will connect the short, the linkage to the main video in YouTube. But I'll also, because YouTube now, I'm sorry, Spotify now allows that 90-second video clip. If the clip is less than 90 seconds, what I'll do is I'll go into Google Drive, save the file to my device, and then upload it to Spotify for creators once the episode publishes, so they have the video teaser in there as well.
I try not to be too far away from Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So I have not, just because an audio podcast is different than uploading a video to YouTube. Those MP3 files are generally much smaller. They're like less than half a gigabyte, depending on the length of the interview. So those ones you could probably get away with. The problem is just the potential glitches or things that can happen to where it says it's uploaded and then it stops and then it's gone, and it's really frustrating. So if I were going to be on the road all the time, I would probably just get that Starlink Mini, the little one that's about the size of an iPad, and just carry that around with me at all times.
Yeah, this portion of the conversation has jostled a memory in my mind where I did have to go to a public library and use the Wi-Fi there because of power outages, back to Matt's point, in our area. And I remember thinking, if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to go to get a hotel room somewhere and just say, is your internet working, and see if I could do it that.
Hotel Wi-Fi. That's not something that updates itself. It does not keep up. I can confirm that. Having had a few guests in hotels, like, where are you today? Oh, we're at a hotel. Oh, that explains why this isn't working very well.
Yes.
This would be my third choice, though. This is like I'm down that far.
And I have also been to the public library as well within the last few months.
Oh, wow.
So you're not
the things
the
we
only
do
one.
for you clients that are listening. The things we do for you. We love you.
Are there any
only the love must show? Only the love must show.
Are there any other disasters that you might have encountered in the past that would have fit into today's show that we didn't touch on?
I remember during COVID when the shutdowns first happened, Excel went down for like 3 hours and my wife was working, and I lost my mind. I thought the world was genuinely ending because I was like, the world runs on Excel. It's over.
How does Excel stop working?
All right.
That's funny.
Boy, thanks for bringing it today. This has been great.
Yeah, this is fun.
And I don't want to plan for the next disaster, but I just want to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have to say this. I am a true student of Murphy's Law. I am a true student of Murphy's Law, and one of the best defenses against things going wrong is being prepared. So the more prepared you are for the disaster, the less likely it is to happen. So those are some words to live by.
We are about 3 years away from me saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter. We'll just do a double ender," and nobody will know what I'm talking about.
That's old school podcasting term right there, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's go around and say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you so much. I'm Johnny Podcast. Please subscribe to the show. Follow us on Apple or Spotify. And if you so want to, you can follow us on socials.
Bye, everybody. This is Catherine O'Brien in Baton Rouge, the storm-prone Baton Rouge, Louisiana, saying, take care, keep everything safe, blah, blah, blah.
John Gay, Jag Podcast Productions, Detroit, Michigan, home of the first place Detroit Lions. Jag Podcast Productions on social.
Matt Kundle at Matt Kundle with the final show from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, moving to the ice storm capital of the world, Saint Adele, Quebec, coming up shortly. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the podcast Super Friends. For a transcript of the show or to connect with the Super Friends, go to the show notes of this episode or go to soundoff.network.